In today's video, I'm going to show you how to replace your lawnmower blade in less than 3 minutes. Now, it's not just the time, it's also how difficult it is to do. I'm going to show you the tricks that I've learned to get the job done fast. No mess, no stress, and you'll be able to do it yourself every time. And you don't need any special tools. Now, I don't talk about sharpening in this video because for most people, it's not worth the effort. If you stick around till the end, I'll explain why. Here we've got a Craftsman 21-inch walk-behind mower. Now blades can vary a bit from machine to machine, but I picked this one because it's very common, and what you're going to see here is very typical. First step is to just throw down something to protect your driveway in case there should be a spill. And if your model has a bagger, you'll want to remove it. It just makes it a little bit easier when you tilt the mower up. Now I know you're excited to change that blade, but this is your first mistake. If you tilt the mower right away, you're very likely going to get fuel running out of the gas cap because they're vented. So even though they're closed, they won't completely seal. But if you do this first trick, you can prevent that completely from happening. Just take a regular sandwich bag and you're going to put it over the threads in your gas cap. And with the bag in place, you'll want to just replace the cap and screw it down until it either clicks or it's on all the way. Once the bag's in there, you won't have any more gas leak out. This is a simple trick that can make the job a lot easier. My next tip is around safety. You want to make sure that you disconnect your spark plug wire from the machine. They're usually in the front and they're easy to get at. All you've got to do is take the boot and pull it off from the spark plug. This way the machine won't start. But there's always a chance that that boot could actually touch the plug. So I recommend putting the boot inside of a baggie like this, and it just gives you an extra layer of protection in case it should ever make contact. The reason you're doing this is because when you're rotating the blade, you could actually start the machine. So doing this will make sure that there's no way that can happen. I put in some heavy gloves, which is always a good idea, but now I can tilt the machine and I don't have to worry about anything starting or any fuel leaking. This looks very easy. The blade's just got a single bolt, so most people will grab their channel lock pliers and start to go to work. This is another huge mistake. It'll never work properly and the blade will start to spin just like this. So the first thing you need to do is figure out a way to lock the blade. There's several ways of doing it, but this is by far the fastest. Grab your pair of vice grips and just simply clamp it to the side of your lawnmower's deck. Now when your blade goes to rotate, it'll hit the vice grips and it will not be able to turn. And you just solved your biggest problem by getting that blade completely locked. So now you can move on to removing that bolt. Now many people will use a wrench like this, and it's not really the best tool for the job. Wrenches are usually only about 8 inches long and they don't give a lot of leverage. So I recommend going ahead and getting a ratchet. It'll work much better and you'll get a lot more leverage on those bolts. They're normally going to turn counterclockwise when you're loosening them, and they tend to be stuck, so the more leverage you can get, the easier the job will be. And with the bolt and those washers removed, you can pull the blade right off. But as you remove it, you want to be careful to note which is the bottom of the blade, because these blades do go on a certain way, and when you remove the old one like this, it's easy to get the sides mixed up, and when you grab your new blade, you can actually put it on wrong. So I recommend just putting the blade down in the direction you took it off. Now with your new blade, you can compare the edges and you want to make sure that the cutting edges match exactly. And when you reinstall the blade, it should fit securely. This particular one has a star type bolt and the new blade fits onto it exactly the way the old one does. You want to make sure the washers are in place and then you screw everything down by hand before you break out your ratchet. The reason you're doing this is to make sure that the threads on the bolt don't get what they call cross-threaded and everything goes in smoothly. You'll also notice as you're tightening it, now that vice grip works the other way. It'll secure the blade, and in just a couple of seconds you are able to replace the blade completely. If you don't own vice grips, you're not out of luck. You can also grab a block of wood and try to wedge it in between the lawnmower blade. Now what you're trying to do here is find a spot on the lawnmower deck that the piece of wood will catch. And once it does, now it'll lock into place and it'll act just like the vice grip did. Except you have to remember that these blocks can sometimes slip out of place, so they're not perfect, but it will get the job done. And if you've got this other tool in your box, you can use this as well. This is just a metal C-clamp and it works very similar to the vice grip. You're just going to screw it in place and now you get a perfect spot that the blade will hit, and now you can change it just as easily as you could if you had the vice grip. All three ways will get that blade locked and make this such an easy thing to do. In the old days, I used to try to hold the blade and none of it ever worked out well. So try one of these techniques and it'll make it so much simpler. When you're done, just put your machine back on the ground, remove those baggies and reconnect the spark plug. But don't start it right away because there's actually oil in the head of the machine that needs to drain back down. I like to wait about 5 to 10 minutes, Then you can start your mower back up and you're ready for a great season with a brand new and perfectly sharpened blade. For a homeowner, sharpening your own blade is not worth it. In the old days, blades were straight and they were fairly easy to sharpen. But today's blades, they're curved, they have angles, mulching edges, and they're not straightforward at all. And you can use your angle grinder or a file, but you will not get a consistently perfect edge across the whole blade. And with all the effort you're putting into taking care of your lawn, you want to make sure your blade is razor sharp and totally straight. Now, if you're professional, things are different. Sharpening a blade is very worthwhile. You can buy a really high quality angle guide like this and you can sharpen your blade just like they come from the factory. But these are expensive. If you're not a professional, they're not going to be able to pay for themselves. So as a homeowner, I recommend just getting a new blade once a year and you don't have to deal with any of the troubles. I hope this video gave you some ideas so that you can change your own lawnmower blade yourself anytime you want. Don't ever spend money to pay somebody else because you can do this whenever you need to. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you're not already for more videos coming up.